this point, I don't even know who's going to raise my children, or if I'm ever going to be able to ever hug them again or comfort them.
Let them know that I know that the cops knew who I was. After Richard Mallory died, I left prints everywhere, and they covered it up.
From a mother accused of killing her own child to a woman blamed for deadly neglect, these cases brought intense courtroom drama. Each of these women faced the harsh reality of spending the rest of their lives behind bars. Some cried, others stayed silent, and a few even tried to shift blame. So, here are 15 women who were sentenced to life in prison and how each of them reacted when they heard the final judgment. Sandra Lane.
I wonder if you really felt so violated and so afraid and a need to shoot. Why did you keep shooting him on the charge of homicide, second-degree murder, that you served 20 to 40 years in the state prison of Michigan?
Sandra Lane was a 75-year-old woman from Detroit, Michigan. In April 2013, she was sentenced to 20 to 40 years in prison for the second-degree murder of her own grandson, 17-year-old Jonathan Hoffman. During an argument at home, Lane shot Jonathan 10 times with a handgun. During her sentencing, Lane cried heavily in court. Even more shocking was that her own daughter, Jennifer Hoffman, the victim's mother, asked the judge to give her the maximum sentence.
Sandra Lane deserves the maximum penalty allowed. Please do not show mercy on her.
Lane was sentenced to spend what could be the rest of her life in prison. Vonda Starr Smith. Vonda Starr Smith was sentenced to life in prison in May 2018 for the murder of 21-year-old Nicole Morrison, who was also pregnant at the time. Smith was also sentenced to an additional 25 years for killing the unborn child, although both sentences would be served at the same time.
Severe lacerations to her skull and fracture in the top of her skull.
He also says Smith violated Morrison's trust, saying she got into Smith's car not long before the murder.
She trusted being with you as opposed to being with a stranger. And bad things happened. This murder happened after that.
Nicole had once dated Smith's son and had a child with him. Smith was said to be obsessed with staying in contact with her grandson. On August 12, 2016, something went wrong, and Nicole was attacked violently. At the court, Smith cried and looked shaken when the judge gave the sentence. Her lawyer asked for a lighter sentence, pointing to her 28 years working at a hospital. But the court still decided she deserved life in prison. Roxana Sikorsky.
I would like to apologize to my family for not being the daughter they wished I would be. And I promise that I will get better, no matter what happens. And I will see Lucas and Angelica again.
Roxana Sikorsky was only 15 years old in October 2014 when she attempted to murder her own family under the pressure of her older boyfriend, Michael Rivera. He was 23 and had been in an illegal relationship with her. Afraid of getting caught, he told Roxana to kill her family. In one text, he said, "Just stab their necks." At first, she resisted, but then gave in. She planned to start with her younger brother, using a fish fillet knife. But the noise from her attempt woke up another sibling, and she fled the house. Fortunately, no one was killed, and her brother survived. In March 2016, Roxana was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison. She cried in court and apologized to her family. Diana Lovejoy. Diana Lovejoy collapsed in court after hearing her sentence in December 2017. She was found guilty of trying to murder her ex-husband, Greg Mulvihill. She had hired her lover, a gun instructor named Weldon McDavid, to kill Greg during a bitter custody battle.
We, the jury, in the above appellate cause, find the defendant, Weldon K. McDavid, guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
All right, we're going At one point, Diana Lovejoy completely passed out.
Diana and Greg had a 3-year-old son. Their divorce had been going on since 2014. By summer 2016, the court ordered her to pay Greg $120,000 and share custody. Diana falsely told McDavid that Greg had abused her and the child. On September 1st, 2016, McDavid shot at Greg in a dark path in Carlsbad, California. Luckily, Greg survived. Diana was sentenced to 26 years in prison, and McDavid got 50 years to life. Tatiana Fusari was sentenced to life in prison in October 2021 for killing her 10-month-old daughter, Mary Welch. The baby only gained 1 pound from birth until her death, showing how severely she was neglected.
He got mad at me because I wouldn't let him sleep. So
Medical experts found the baby had died from malnutrition and dehydration. Fusari cried in disbelief during the sentencing. She claimed that Welch abused her and made her afraid to act. At one point, she said he pointed an AK-style gun at her. Her lawyer said she was too scared to care for the baby properly. But the evidence didn't support her claim. Emergency responders said the baby had been dead for at least 72 hours before they were called on August 2nd, 2018. The baby's face was sunken, and her body was clearly starved. The court gave Fusari life in prison for murder and 15 to 30 more years for abuse. Her husband also got life without parole. Michelle Blair.
What did you do to Stony Blair that makes you guilty of premeditated murder?
She raped my son. I intentionally killed her.
How did you do that?
Starting from the beginning, when I found out about what Stony was doing, it was 9 months later after finding out about Stephen.
Michelle Blair from Detroit shocked the nation when she admitted to killing 2 of her children. In 2012, she beat her son Stephen to death after he admitted to molesting his younger brother. She then poured hot water on him and hid his body in a freezer. 9 months later, she found out her daughter Stony had also hurt the same child. Michelle then starved and beat Stony until she died, then placed her body in the same freezer. All of this was discovered in 2015 when she was evicted for not paying rent. She calmly confessed to the murders and even said she would kill them again if she could. Michelle was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Bonnie Duarte. Bonnie Duarte was sentenced to 45 years in prison in February 2020 for killing 3 teenagers in a drunk driving accident.
At this point, I don't even know who's going to raise my children, or if I'm ever going to be able to ever hug them again or comfort them. No one is to blame but me. I take responsibility.
It doesn't matter. My daughter can't do anything. My daughter died horrific.
On March 29th, 2018, Duarte was driving her Hyundai Sonata when she crashed into a Toyota Corolla stopped at a red light. Her blood alcohol level was 0.3%, more than 3 times the legal limit. The impact was so strong that the Toyota hit a pole and caught fire, killing Dylan Mack, Brooke Hawley, and AJ Rossi. A 4th teen, Alexis Vargas, survived but was badly injured. Duarte was also given 6 more years for causing injury. In court, she cried and begged for forgiveness. She said she didn't know if she would ever hug her children again. Shayna Hubers.
I was at a Friday night football game in the fall of '07, and I was sexually assaulted in the restroom by a stranger and pinned against the wall in the bathroom in a handicap stall.
Shayna Hubers was only 21 years old when she killed her boyfriend Ryan Poston in 2012. She shot him 6 times inside his own apartment. During her trial, she never apologized to Ryan's family. She was tried twice, and both times found guilty.
Never about Ryan's family. It was never about them. I don't mean to hurt anyone else. I never meant to hurt anyone.
The second trial happened because a juror from the first trial had a felony. Still, she was sentenced to life in prison. The judge said her actions were cruel and showed no regret. Elizabeth Escalona.
I find you guilty of the offense charged. I'll set your sentence at confinement in the penitentiary for a period of 99 years. The sentence goes into effect today. As required by law, you will receive all back time credits. Counsel, is there any reason in law why sentence should not be pronounced at this time? Safely held to be turned over to a duly authorized receiving agent of the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Please go with the bail.
In September 2011, 25-year-old Elizabeth Escalona attacked her 2-year-old daughter, Jocelyn. The baby had an accident and Elizabeth lost her temper. She hit her with belts and even glued her hands to a wall. Doctors found serious brain damage and many injuries. In court, Elizabeth cried and admitted she acted like a monster. The judge sentenced her to 99 years in prison. He said her troubled past could not excuse such a violent act against a child. Jody Arias.
Minutes ago, you heard the verdict from the jury. What are your thoughts?
I think I just went blank. Just, I don't know. I just feel overwhelmed.
In June 2008, Jody Arias murdered her 30-year-old ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander in Arizona. He was shot once, stabbed nearly 30 times, and his throat was cut. She said it was self-defense, but the jury did not believe her. After years of legal fights, she was sentenced to life in prison with no chance for parole. Jody later said she was shocked at her own actions and wished she could take everything back. She will stay in prison forever. Aileen Warnos.
Prepared.
I'm prepared. I'm all right. I'm all right with it.
And how?
I'm all right with it, but like I said, remember, let them know that I know that the cops knew who I was after Richard Mallory died.
Between 1989 and 1990, Aileen Warnos killed at least 7 men in Florida. She said they attacked her and she acted in self-defense. But the court did not believe her. Before these murders, she had already been arrested for crimes like robbery and theft. She worked as a prostitute and met most victims that way. In 2002, at age 46, Aileen was executed by lethal injection. Her final words were strange, and she spoke about spaceships and Jesus. Kyandria Cook.
If you're guilty of all 3 charges, sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
Kyandria Cook was only 19 years old when she took part in a violent robbery in 2017. She and her boyfriend lured a man using a dating app, then tried to steal his car. Her boyfriend shot the victim, causing serious injury. In 2018, Kyandria was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Later, she got a reduced sentence of 10.5 years after a new plea deal. She apologized in court. The judge said he saw potential in her. Kamia Gamet.
You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. You didn't think he was an intruder. You know, maybe one stab wound, okay, maybe that's self-defense. But you put in 11 more to make sure he was good and dead. So I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well.
In 2012, 31-year-old Kamia Gamet killed her boyfriend Marcel Hill using a lamp and a knife. She said she was confused after hearing glass break, thinking someone attacked her. But the jury believed she stabbed Marcel many times on purpose. A judge said she acted like a butcher and showed no regret. In 2014, she was sentenced to life in prison with no chance for release. Her angry behavior in court made her situation worse. Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham. In 2009, Erica and her partner Shanita were supposed to care for a 3-year-old girl named Serenity. The girl was visiting for 2 weeks, But after a potty accident, they beat her using belts and plastic hangers. The child died from the abuse. Both women were sentenced to life in prison in Charleston. In court, they cried and collapsed on the floor. But the judge said their actions were too brutal to forgive. Casey Anthony.
Pretty obvious that with everything that you've told us, nothing has been truth. You know where she is.
From her work history to addresses of key players to imaginary friends, detectives told Casey she's done nothing but stall them from finding the daughter she says she misses so much.
In 2008, 22-year-old Casey Anthony was accused of killing her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. The child was missing for 31 days before Casey told anyone. Later, Kaylee's body was found in a wooded area. Casey was arrested and charged with murder. In 2011, after a 6-week trial, the jury found her not guilty of murder, but she was guilty of lying to police. She served about 3 years in jail.